ಹಲೋ ಸರ್, ಅದೇ ಸುಧೀರ್ ಸರ್, ಬ್ಲೂ ಬುಕ್ಸ್ಗೋಸ್ಕರ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ದಾರಂತೆ ಸರ್ ಕ್ಯಾಬಿನ್ ಹತ್ರ. 3:30ಗೆ ಸರಿ, ಓಕೆ ಸರ್, ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ. ಓಕೆ ಸರಿ ಸರ್, ಸರಿ, ಓಕೆ. ಹಾಂ. Bro, he went to have lunch it seems. He'll come at 3:15 something. Okay, yeah. Check. Yeah. Yeah. Good afternoon, team. So, can anyone confirm if my screen is visible and I'm audible? Okay. Fine. Yeah. So, yeah, before we start our workshop, maybe we can just look at the topic overview. All right. So, initially, we'll have a 20-minute period where we'll be installing the software. Yeah, Vinod, you want to say anything? Or Vinod? Okay.
No, sir. I just wanted to say the screen is visible.
Yeah. Thank you.
thank,
Thank you. Thank you.
thank you, sir. Thank you.
Fine. So, yeah. So, initially, we'll be spending some time on how to install this software called as Fusion 360. Okay. It's an open source software. And after that, we'll be defining our problem statement, what we'll be doing using that software. And then we will start with designing a 3D object. And along with that, we'll be designing our own components. Okay. So usually there will be some inbuilt libraries, but then we might not have it as per our needs. So we'll design a component as per our specifications or requirements. And then we'll give an introduction to something called as a schematic diagram, followed by the layout placement. And finally, we'll be designing our own PCB and we'll be sending it to manufacturer. Okay. So all these processes will be doing it. And again, before we start, uh, why should we be learning this particular software? Okay. The reason is, uh, in this software, we can design our own components based on its dimensions. Okay, so if you want to get the bigger picture, or for example in our case we'll be making our own satellite, a CubeSat. So we might be confused with the one of our main constraints would be the space, right? Because space is a very important factor, or the volume of our components, whatever we are placing it. Okay, and initially we might come up with a list of components, but then we might come up with a case where, after buying them and then after we place them, we might cross that CubeSat boundary. Okay, so to not come or face such problems, we can come up with a 3D model of our own where we can constrain or keep our own or define our constraints, and then we, whatever components we are trying to place in the CubeSat, we can make a 3D model of it. And also we can come up, or we might get exposure to where we are placing the main motherboard of the CubeSat. Accordingly we can change the other position of ports and stuff. Yeah, we have yeah, good afternoon, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Yeah.
Carry on.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the reason, if we are exposed to this particular software, we can, basically build our entire CubeSat, and also we can, the bottleneck constraints which we come across while placing the components, all those we can actually have it visual. Otherwise we need to spend a lot of time on buying the components, placing them, and then if it is not sufficient, we might have to buy some other components. Okay, so that's the reason this workshop is, or this particular session is necessary. Okay, to another thing which I suggest is, I want everyone who is part of this workshop to work parallelly, because you can just keep looking at this workshop, maybe make, you can write down notes, but then parallelly if you do it, it'll always stay there, because otherwise you can make your notes and then later you'll never look into it. Basically that's what happens. So yeah, this particular Google sheet, or this agenda of today's meet, right? I had shared it in the WhatsApp group, so maybe you all can open it. And the first link there will direct you to the installation of the software, okay, page. So, yeah. So once you click it, it auto download. It starts it. The download will begin. Okay. So, is anyone doing it parallelly, or has anyone already installed the software? Can anyone raise their hand? Yeah. So, yeah. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. I think Vijay also had already installed the software. He had messaged me earlier. Okay, fine. So once it's installed, it will ask you a few questions on why you want to install it. Okay, you can just choose the hobby option. I had already installed it in my desktop. I don't think I can do it again, but yeah, anyways, I'll just give it a go. Another advantage on using this particular software is it auto saves. So sometimes after your work, if in case you forget to save it, it after, I mean, periodically it keeps saving it to the cloud. Okay, so that is another advantage of this. And this comes in with, usually we have another software for PCB building, okay, PCB developing, that is maybe something like an Eagle CAD or something, okay, but Fusion 360, it has it internally. So as you are using the software, you need to be connected to the internet. And another suggestion is, if you're on your laptop, it's better to connect a mouse, because we have something called as bind keys, that is the right click and then the scrolling options. It will help you, or it will make your work easier. The designing becomes simpler. Okay. We have two versions of download. One is the full software where you'll have to pay, but for now we can download it as a hobby version or a free version. Okay, that is sufficient for us. So maybe if you are doing it for the first time, it might ask for logging in and stuff. So you can just give in your Gmail password and you can enter. Okay. So once installed, I'm expecting you all to. I mean, this interface should be there. Okay, this is the interface of the software. Okay, so maybe another 3-4 minutes for you all to set up. And once you guys have installed the software, you can just raise your hands so that I'll know to proceed. May I know how many of you all are doing it parallelly? Okay, Harsh is doing it parallelly. Varun, Vijay is doing it. Okay, we have Sumant also. I also want to talk about our previous work. So we had actually done a project. Okay, so we had to make a test bench. Okay, so how did this software help us? So the entire thing has been done in this software only, from the PCB designing through to all the 3D designing of the components. Okay, so the issue we had was we didn't know where to place basically the displays and the speaker. Over here on the side panel you can see this is a port for speaker and stuff. Okay, so the advantage is over here we can turn off all the, so you can start with your initial main board and then gradually we can start building the compartments. Okay, so by doing this what happens, we will have that idea because it is to scale. Whatever we are doing in this software, it is to scale, right? So we will have an idea on where to place our components, and placement being our main concern, so this will help us a lot. Okay, fine. Okay, does anyone need time to install, or shall I proceed? If anyone needs time, you can just raise your hands. Okay, fine. Okay, so now let us understand the interface. Okay. So on the top panel or the toolbar, we have something called as a solid, where we will be using it to draw all our 3D blocks, curves, and then halo structures and stuff. Okay. Second, we have surface option, where this option is used after drawing a 3D object. If you want to maybe write on a particular surface or do editing on top of a surface, you can use these options. This is a mesh, but mesh is used when after designing our 3D component, we will want to simulate our particular device. Okay, so in such cases we can't directly import the 3D model or export our 3D model into the simulator tool. We will have, it will form a mesh around the 3D object, and then a single copy .stl format, it will be exporting it to the simulators. Okay, a sheet metal we won't be using much. This is for plastics and other utilities, but basically we'll be tackling with these three options: solid, surface, and mesh. Okay. Yeah. So first, when we want to create, maybe we can just define our problem statement. Okay. So each of us, we need to have something in our mind. So a day-to-day component which we use is something, it is our phone. We all keep using our phones. Okay, so a good way to start doing this is maybe we can start designing our own phone. Okay, so that we'll know what all options are available here, and obviously the phone will be next to us, so seeing it we can parallelly start designing our particular model. Fine. So I'll be, first we go to the create sketch option, because first we need to draw a 2D form, and then we will do something called as an extrusion. Extrusion is adding those 2D layers on top of each other. All right. So I'll click on that option. Yeah, one second. This is pretty much a heavy software, so you need to have a good processor. What is- So top left corner we have something as a data panel. Data panel is where all your previous works will be stored. It's basically like a folder. Okay, this is connected to the cloud, so whatever you do and save, it will appear here. Okay, so you can just close it off. Okay, so first we need to select a plane of our choice. Okay, there is the xy plane, yz, and then xz planes, right? So where we want to draw our first, for example, if we are drawing our phone or creating the 3D model of our phone, we can select the bottom plane over here. Top right, you can just see the legend here. So you can select front view. This is the bottom view. Okay, and then you can click home to just reset your vision. So now that we want to start our 3D object, we need to draw the 2D structure first. So let's just select a plane, okay, and then it auto aligns to that plane. And now you can choose the rectangle option here. Okay, on the top toolbar only we get the sketch option, where you can just draw structure of your choice. Okay, so for example, we can start off, because the top view of our phones is a rectangle, right? So let us say my phone is around 10 centimeters to 5 centimeters. So 10 centimeters is in 100 millimeters, right? 100 millimeters. And if you want to go to the other scale, you can just press the tab option, right? So I'll just put it 50 there. So now we have a rough figure or a rough top view of our phones, right? Now we need to start placing 2D structures so that it will become a 3D structure, right? So we can go to the solid option now once we are done with the 2D structure, and we can click on the extrude option. And without clicking, if you just keep your cursor on top of an icon, it can help you on what it basically does. So here, if you see the hole option, if there is a 3D structure, if you want to create any holes, you can use that. But for now, we are, after drawing the 2D structure, we are extruding it, right? So after clicking on that, you can select the previously created plane, and now it will ask you for how much to extrude, right? So let us say it is 5 millimeters in thickness. Okay. So now we have a rough block, a rough phone like block. And if you want to again reset your vision, you can just go to the top right corner there, and you can see that home icon. So on clicking that, it just realigns, okay, or it just resets the view. Okay, fine. So may I know who and all are doing it parallelly? Can you just raise your hands so that I can either wait or continue? Yeah, Ritu is doing, Vijay is doing. Okay, fine. Okay. Vijay, you had installed the software, right? So this is seen for you, I'm hoping.
Yeah, but I have not explored it, but
Okay.
I have installed it. Okay.
Okay. So you had drawn this block, no?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, now we have our block, fine. So we have many of our phones, the latest phones, they have these curved boundaries at the edges, right? We don't have a sharp cut. We usually have curved boundaries, the smooth finish, right? So for that, what we can do, over here, there is an option called as modify. Okay? If you just click on it, there is something called as fillet. Fillet is basically, we use sandpaper in real life. For example, if you have done projects with some thermocol or something, you use sandpaper to polish it basically. So it smoothens the boundaries. Over here, you can just see the prompt there. It is saying that if there are any sharp edges, it will smoothen it or basically curve it. Second, we have something called as chamfer. Okay, chamfer is red or increasing the number of edges. That's it. Okay, we won't have smooth, or we won't have round surfaces, but we will increase the number of edges. Okay, we'll just go with the fillet option. And if you want to fillet, we cannot fillet a surface, right? we cannot make the entire surface round. We basically need to, the middle scroll button of your mouse, you can zoom, you can move it up and down to zoom. Okay. So now if you want to do the fillet, you can just select the edge there, and then you can type in the distance of how much you want to reduce, or you can just use the scroll option here. So by this, you will know that how much you are removing the material or smoothening it. Okay, so let us say we smoothen it by maybe 5 millimeters. Okay, that is nice. But here, what's the issue? We need to smoothen all the edges, right? All the edges. So we can't go to each edge and then select it and do it. Okay, so over here we can select multiple edges by using the control key. So long press the control key, and then you can use your left click of the mouse, okay, to select all the edges you want to fillet. So for example, I had selected all these edges here. Okay, and if I just fillet it, it will smoothen all the edges. Okay, sometimes it will give us an error saying that if we fillet it a lot, then the property of the material only changes, because initially we have defined a 10 centimeter cross 5 centimeter body, right? But if you fillet it more, it is saying that it can't be done because it is changing the initial dimensions only. Okay, so like that you can select multiple edges and then you can start filleting it. Okay, but for now we'll just first fillet the 4 edges. So control and then select whatever you want, and if you want to see the other side, the opposite side, you can click on different orientations here, and whatever you had selected will be intact, that won't go. So now the bottom left, bottom right is done. Now I'll just click on this and then we will fillet it. Click on fillet option, and then what we had done it for 5 millimeters, right? So we'll do the same. Okay, now it looks good. We'll just go to the home. Now we'll just define the orientation of our phone, because how from this block we won't know which is top view, which is bottom and stuff. So we'll just make a small marking, or all our phones will have the camera on the topmost, the top facing side. It will have the microphone also, or basically the speaker. Whenever you're calling, you'll have the speaker over there. Okay? So over there we'll just remove that so that we will know where are we facing on this. Okay? So again, if you want to do any 3D structure, first we need to start with the 2D diagram. For that we need to select a surface, and what surface are we selecting? The topmost surface of the phone, right? We'll just click on that. I'm using the scroll button to zoom in and zoom out, and a rough rectangle here, so maybe a rough rectangle to show that this is the speaker option. Whenever you're on call, okay, now this is done. Again, reset view. Now we need to remove that particular material there. Okay, the speaker, there will be that inside dent, right? So we need to remove that particular material. So for that, again we need to go to the solid option, extrude. But now we are not extruding our device, we are intruding it. Basically we are going inside so that we remove that space. So by how much, we'll just say we can write -1 there, -1 millimeter, right? So now our orientation is fixed. Now I know that this is the top surface, this is the bottom surface. So it will become easier for us as we are proceeding. It will become easier for us. Fine. Now say on top also we want to smoothen the edges. So we'll just select all the edges which is on top, all the edges which are on top, and we'll fillet those also. Maybe say 0.5 millimeter or 1 millimeter. Fine. Top left here under the browser option, you will have an option to change your units. So if you are comfortable with centimeters, you can just change that by clicking the edit option. So I'll go back again. So document settings with the screw symbol over there, click on it. click on the arrow there. Okay, so that will drop down to the units whichever you want. So after clicking, you can either set it to millimeter, meter, inch, as per your convenience. Fine. Now what else is required? I think we need to start defining our particular screen. Okay, basically our screen is a different material, right? So we can just draw a boundary for the screen. Again, select the surface. You can use the arrow mark options there. Okay, if you want to rotate it clockwise or anti-clockwise, top right is your control. You can just remember the top right as your control. Okay, here you can just control whatever orientation you are comfortable with. We'll just draw a rough boundary for our screen. I think this would be a good amount. We'll just click on that. Again, we'll extrude it. Very less extrusion. 0.1 extrusion. Just to differentiate. Enter. Now again, we'll select that surface and maybe we can fill it. 0.05. Now somewhat we are starting to define. Now it somewhat looks like a phone, right? So yeah. So why I'm doing this? We can start introducing these icons as it is, but once we keep doing stuff, right, we learn gradually. So that is a better way. So parallelly, if you are doing this or making your own phone, you'll be learning a lot. Now maybe we can include, let us say our camera, we need a hole there, fine. So we'll just introduce this hole option. Click the surface. After clicking the surface, right side we get its information, how much you want, the depth of it. Here they are saying it is 18 millimeters. We don't want it to be 18 millimeters because our thickness itself is 5 millimeters. You can give it more, it doesn't matter. So yeah, 5. And what about the radius? Radius is defined here. Ideal camera slot, here we are defining it to be whole, but let us say it will be 0.05. Yeah, 0.05 is good. Okay. Okay, now our hole is also defined. Okay. Now let us say what might be at the back side of our phone. We will have our back camera also. You can either click on, how am I rotating it? Bottom there is an orbit option. Okay, bottom panel there is an orbit option. Right, left click on that, and then you can just move it however you want. Okay. Now again, home view. We need the back side view, right? So here, what have I done? By just making this hole here, I know what is going on the back side, on the other side basically. So I have defined my orientation using this option. Now let us say we need to make our camera, right? It's better if we fillet these edges also. You can select the surface and all the edges will be filleted. Okay. 0.5 or maybe 1. Okay. Now it somewhat looks good. So bottom surface, we need a port for our charging, right? Microphone port will be there. Microphone is a 2.5 jack. 2.5 jack. So we can select that surface and we can draw a circle there. And 2.5, 1.25. 1.25 mm. This is the radius, right? So, yeah. Fine. Now I've made a circle 2D structure there. Again, what's the process? We need to intrude it or remove some material there. So click on the extrude option, select the surface. An ideal jack would be 1 centimeter, right, or maybe 2 centimeters inside. So minus 20 or 2 would be less, 2 would be a lot, minus 15 is fine. Yeah. Our hole is created and maybe we can smoothen it also. Let it 1 or 0.5. So now we have a representation of the microphone jack, the 2.25 jack, 2.5 jack. Now we need another slot for the charger. We can draw that also. So yeah, rectangle would do. Typical charging slot, I think it would be 7 millimeters approx. And if you want to do it for scale, you can just look into the data sheets or whatever port you are using, and then you can create it. And thickness would be 2 millimeters, or here let's just keep it 1. Enter. You can just use the letter E for extrude. So what are these? These are something called as bind keys. So if we use different keys in a particular fashion, so over here to select multiple edges, I had used Control plus click, right? So that's a bind key. It's yeah. So here the bind key for extrude is the letter E, right? Letter E, and then you can click on whatever surface you want to extrude or intrude. Intrude is going on the inside direction, extrude is the outside direction. So for now, let us go inside in this particular case. Okay, enter. A box structure doesn't look, I mean there are no ports like this. So again, let us smoothen this also. I want to select all the edges. So again, select 1 or 0.5. Okay, fine. This is done. So charging port is done. The jack is done. We can also maybe design or maybe make holes for the mic, the speaker. So here, if we want to make multiple holes, we can select hole placement here. Okay. Okay, fine. So this part is done. Now we'll just go or deal with the behind side or back of the phone, and then we can put in some representation of a camera, right? Left. Again, create sketch. We need to select the surface which we are dealing with. we can use this line option. Okay, we had already used rectangle, so now let's introduce this line option. Escape if you want to just quit using that, you can use the option, escape option. So using this line option, we can select a start. It has the ability to create lines and arcs. Select a start and endpoints to define line segment. Click and drag the endpoint to define an arc. So if you want to draw a line, so what have I done? Control Z is the undo option. That's the default. So if you have gone wrong somewhere, on top left also there is an undo option there. Undo and redo. Control Z is undo. Control Y is redo. Alright. So you can maybe keep noting down these bind keys also. So line, single click, line, long press for a curve. Go to the other point, single and long. So yeah, if you are doing it, you will understand it better. So what have I done? Click to draw a line, click at the other point and then long press to get an arc, and then go up, long press to get an arc. So I don't want the bottom part, I'll just undo it. Now I want to extrude this particular thing. Okay. Extrude and then 2, enter. Now I want to smoothen it, or we'll use some other option here. Let us say we want to try chamfer. 1. This looks somewhat better. Okay, so till here, I mean, as of now, we had introduced this sketch option, or where you can draw 2D structures, and extrude option, fillet and chamfering, and some other bind keys. So yeah, with that, we just using these simple icons, we were able to somewhat get a representation of whatever a phone we are imagining, right? So yeah. So till here, I hope who and all have been doing it, are doing it. So yeah, can anyone confirm if you guys are doing it? Vijay, Harsh, Ritu, and yeah. Another option here is a plane. Okay, you can just define your own plane, because in this we just have the XY plane, YZ, and then the XZ plane, right? So, but in case you want to define your own planes, you can use this construct plane off. So I'll just show you. So I'll select an existing plane, and I want to create another plane at an offset of say maybe 2 centimeters, right? So enter. So over here we have created another plane, on top of which we can draw our 2D structures and then make it 3D. So because for now we have just made this particular 2D structure, or initially we have made our 2D structure on the XZ plane, right? But what if we want to do it at some other plane, or at some other height from the XZ plane? So for that you can just select an existing plane and then offset another plane. Now if you want to create another object, you can select this particular plane, and on top of that you can start drawing and extrude. So now whatever diagram or whatever model you are doing, it has been created on the plane which you have defined. So this also might be another useful option, because whenever you want to stack different objects, you don't want it to mess up the existing block, right? So you can define your own plane by the construct or offset plane option. You can select an existing plane, and then wherever you want to create, you can just move that, enter. Now you can create another sketch there, whatever, let us say another. Okay, so now what I was able to do without damaging my initial construct, I was able to create 3 more objects on top of each other. So this is the advantage of that offset plane. I'll just undo or remove this option, whatever we had created. Okay, fine. Has anyone done till this point, so that I'll know whether to proceed or stop? Okay, yeah, or maybe we can also define those power buttons and volume buttons. So for that, again, we need some round-like structure. So the sketch, select a plane. We need the right side boundary line. Now let us say I had made this particular object now. Okay, I want to copy it. So for that, what I can do, we can split body. We have something called as a split body option. Now what we can see here, this entire structure, whatever we have created, right, is a single body. Fine, all have been connected. So whatever change, let us say if I want to add color to one of this object, so for that we'll just go to the top left option. There is an, under the design, there's the design button there. Okay, you can click on render. Okay, render is how will the phone look in real life, basically how close. Okay, this is like the closest thing we can get on how it will look in real life. Okay, so with just simple modifications, our phone somewhat looks aesthetics, right? It looks pretty good. Now if I want to change the color of my phone, because why coloring is needed, you might argue that in our particular case coloring might not be needed. In our particular case, as in the once we start developing a satellite, no, color is not an important factor, anything is fine. Okay, but color can be used as a differentiating medium also. So if you want to differentiate two different objects in the 3D model, so you need color, right? So you can right click and then select appearance. Over here we can we'll get in the existing library, we'll get a different options, say metal, mirror, and for sure we know that our screen, whatever screen we are using, is of glass type, right? So you can click on the screen, right click, appearance, and say you can choose mirror option. Paint, just download this green color and then we'll try it. So if needed, you can just keep downloading it. You won't get all the packages in the first installation itself. So if you want the green color, you can just click on it and then you can download. So it's something like that. Other options, base material. There's carbon fiber. I think we'll be using carbon fiber also for our casing. So yeah. Appearance. So you can choose that particular material which you want to use, long press on that material, drag and drop on the object. Alright. So let us say we want a red finish, and drag and drop it. But what is happening here? Whatever I am dragging and dropping, it's being applied to the entire material. Fine. So a best practice is whatever devices, or usually how it does is, how we do is, we 3D design different components and then we attach them together. Okay, but in this session we had taken a big red block, I mean a rectangle block, and then we had chipped off whatever we don't need. Okay, so let me show you. Let us say if we have, how do we separate the, let us say over here we have this power button and we want to separate it. Now it is already included in this body and we want to separate it, okay, from this body. So we'll go back to our design and then we will select this split body option. Split body option, you can click on it, and then there's only one body in this particular file, right? And that, how do you know? Right panel, you have all these options. Construction, so construction, it will tell you where and all you have created the planes. Thank you. And here we have the previously made sketches, everything will be stored. So if I just want to view everything, what all sketches we had previously done, you can turn on the visibility option here. Fine, now I'll just turn it off. And on bodies, if you see, there is just one body. There's just one body here, and I want to, let us say I want to rename it. I'll rename it as phone. And I want to separate this particular button option. Fine, so let us say we'll go to the split option, select the body. So here creates a new face by dividing select body using a profile face or a plane. Select the bodies to modify and then select the profile face or the plane that divides the body. So but we haven't defined our plane, right? So now we'll construct a plane here. Enter. Now a plane has been created where we want to cut. So if you can see here, the red is our phone, and then the yellow structure, that is the plane which we have created. Now I'll just try the split body option. Select body to split. Right. Okay, fine. So what have I done here? Now on the bodies option or the bodies panel left side, which you can see, initially there was just one body. Now it has become two. Okay, then subnaming being one added to the existing name. So how have I done that? So I've created a plane and I've selected that plane, whatever plane I have created, right? I've selected it and then used that plane to split the object. Fine. Okay, yeah. So by doing that, what happens? We have separated our particular button option here. Okay, now we can rename that as say button or power button. Power. And if you don't want to see that plane, you can just turn off the sketch construction option. In the construction option, there will be all the planes which we have created, right? And another thing which I want to introduce is the bottom options which you have here. This is the timeline. So if you want to start if you had forgotten what you had done from the beginning, you can just scroll or press this play option, and it will give you in a video representation of what and all had been done initially. So we had made a block, and then we chipped some of the stuff. We made the screen, we filleted it, we created the microphone jack hole, the power point, the power hole, and then finally we made the power button also. So yeah, so like that the entire timeline will be saved, right? So now that we have separated, we have two objects created, we can go forward to create this screen also. So construct, we need to create a plane over here. Enter. Plane has been created. Select the plane, split body. Now we are able to differentiate a screen also. Over here, if you can see, this is a phone which has been turned off. These are the visibility options. So if you want to just view it, you can turn it on and off. Now we have three options. One is the power option, phone, and then the screen. So we'll go ahead and rename this as the screen. Enter. And behind also we need to define this camera, right? So we'll go ahead and split it also. So how do you do that? First, define your plane. It will ask you how far you want to create the plane. I just want to do it on top of that surface only. Just so zero distance is fine. Enter. A plane has been created, but it is not seen. Why? Because on the left side it's turned off. The construction option is turned off, right? The visibility is option, it's turned off. Okay, fine. So now my plane is created. Now I want to split it. So select the plane first, go to the split body option, select the body. So it will ask you where and all it is going to cut, right? So you can just, right side also it will give you an option. It has this bar where it will tell you one body is selected, splitting to is selected. Now you can go ahead and press enter. Now we have another device created, which is the camera. We'll rename that as camera. Camera. Fine. Nice. We'll turn off the planes. Now it somewhat looks good. So what else can we do? I think this also will just fill it by 0.5 or another option here we have something called as inspect, where you can measure distances between different points. So point 1, point 2, you can just select the edges there and then you can click on it. That's basically a scale. I had pressed escape to remove that view. Now let me just select this edge here. Okay, I want to select this edge because I want to smoothen it. Okay. So what I had done, I had reversed it. I had filleted it again so that I'll get this curved finish. That's it. Okay, fine. This is done. Now we'll go to the rendering option where we can add colors or the materials which we are using. So the screen type would be a glass structure. Let us say this is good for the screen. The body we can keep it as red, or I think black would be better for the screen. And this one we can turn off different options. We can just turn on the camera, click on it, and its appearance, say we can choose another metal. This is fine. Now let's just see how our phone looks. Okay. So now it's somewhat nice. Reset view. So yeah. So in this way you can differentiate between different objects or different components. Using that render option, you can just right click on that particular device or particular component, and then you can drag and drop the material of your choice. Fine. So yeah, aesthetically also this particular phone representation is somewhat pleasing. Okay. So schedule wise, we had to install it and then introduce the interface, statement definition, and then 3D designing of an object. So yeah, we are done with the 3D designing of whatever object we have defined, and it's 4 o'clock now. So maybe we can have 10-minute break and then we'll get back. If people who are designing in the background, if you have any doubts, you can just ask. So yeah, a 10-minute break and then we will meet again. Okay, after the break, we will start designing our own electronic components, and then we will introduce something about schematic and stuff. Okay, fine.